Greetings, listeners, and welcome to a very special episode of the Dave Dynasty Show. In this episode, we're going to pay tribute and remember a man who was instrumental within Midwest independent wrestling for the past 30-plus years. As a wrestler, as a promoter, as a friend, as sharing locker rooms with guys, and a guy we recently lost, and a guy will be greatly missed. We're going to pay tribute to Dallas James, and just something that I felt I'd like to do, I wanted to do, I felt needed to be done, and we're going to do that the best way that I thought. And paying tribute to him on the wrestling side. We're going to have an episode here where we're going to feature some audio clips from his career, from his time with working for Diamond Dan and PWI, where they put together and produced some great independent TV there, and Dallas was key and instrumental in that. And then we're going to talk to five guys who really were close to Dallas, and traveled a lot with him, worked a lot with him, did pretty much everything with him. And we'll have those comments from those guys as the show progresses. So please help us pay tribute. Please share this. Please tag anybody that should hear, which is everybody. Everybody should hear this. So please help us spread the word about how great Dallas James was and how much he will be missed. So let's get right into it. Thank you for listening.
I didn't have any put on me. I was wrestling Big Rig Rollins and Cousin Bubba for most of the past 2 or 3 months. They don't even know how to put on a hold.
Now we are joined by Cousin Bubba. How did you meet Dallas?
How did I meet Dallas? Oh my gosh. I think I met him through Masher Stevens. He was on a show with me with Masher Stevens. We both got started about the same time, I think. And we were doing a show, and I don't remember where it was, but that's where I run into him now. And then we just became friends, and I've known him ever since.
Okay.
And we've wrestled together. We've been opponents, and gosh, I don't know what all.
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
Well.
So then, of course. Oh, go ahead.
We just, we've worked a lot of shows together, done a lot of shows together. And I don't know, it just, he was a heck of a good guy. I never had any problems with him or anything like that. He was pretty straightforward, a hell of a promoter. And he was a damn good worker, too.
Absolutely. So definitely you got to know him a little bit during it all. So what was he like in the ring when you worked with him?
Well, we worked a show one time over in Portland, Indiana, for an outfit, and they was looking for some guys to come in, and me and Dallas went over to that show. Of course, a couple other guys went too. We took the Gravediggers with us, and we went over there, and we put on a show, and they put us against each other, and we had a one fall, I think, 30-minute time limit. Something like that. And we literally tore the house down. We literally tore the house down. Busted the ring, and continued the match and finished it. We didn't let it stop. We kept it going.
So busted the round and everything.
Yeah, the ring come down. It actually, it broke. It didn't come clear down, but the ropes all dropped loose and everything. And we just had it was just a whale of a match, and the people really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
It was probably one of the best matches that probably one of the best matches I've been in, and just to get started anyway. We done a lot of shows together in different places. We worked a lot of different shows. A lot of them.
No, absolutely. So, then did you ever work under Dallas when he was a promoter?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I done shows for him on them in that aspect. Well, yeah, I bought a lot of his shows. You know, Indianapolis and Mooresville and, oh gosh, just you about name it there, we'd been there.
So everyone seems to kind of remember him pretty fondly, and everyone has quite a few memories. So do you have like a favorite memory of Dallas, or do you have any memories you want to share with everybody?
Well, I'll tell you, here last summer, I was sitting here on the porch here in Fairmount's back porch, and this truck pulled up, small van, and he'd been over here to Auto Network over here, and I don't know, picked up some glass windows for some cars or something, whoever he worked for, and he pulled up here and got out of the truck, and I'm just going to be very blunt with you. He got out of the truck and he said, "I think I can kick your ass." And I looked up to see who it was, and I said, "You ain't seen the day yet." And we sat out here on the porch probably for an hour and a half or 2 hours just visiting. And it was a very, very enjoyable visit because I hadn't seen him probably in, 4 or 5 years. And he just happened to stop by, and we sat there and shot the bull for, like I say, for an hour and a half or 2 hours. And I'll tell you, that was probably one of the best moments I've had in a long time. Me and him just sitting there talking about old times.
Absolutely. And that's probably those are the best memories where you can just kind of, the memory of actually reliving all those old memories.
Right. That's what it was. And that was one of the enjoyable parts of it, getting to visit with him. And that's the last I'd seen him. I hadn't talked to him since then. I'd conversed with him a little bit on Facebook, but not very much. But, of course, the way I work and the way he worked, I just didn't fool around on the computer that much. But, had a very, very enjoyable afternoon that afternoon, like I said, for about 2 hours. And he said, "I'm going to probably get in trouble." He said, "I should have been back to work." But he said, "I guess I can wait." I never got to meet his wife, or Vicky there, but for what I'd heard about her and everything like that, she seemed like an awful nice lady.
No, absolutely.
Wow.
So then another question, do you have any funny stories about Dallas? I know a couple of people have had some funny stories, but do you have any funny road stories?
Well, we done a show down in Indianapolis, me and Joe, and they wouldn't let us wrestle anymore, because Cousin Bubba and Trucker Joe. So we went back to the ring as Batman and Robin. Of course, we wore regular outfits, but we had hoods on. And them guys, they just raised all kinds of heck about it. I thought Dallas was going to die. Of course, they knew who it was right off the bat. But still, we worked under the name of Batman and Robin. And we just, him and Austin there. And I tell you, that was probably one of the funnest matches I've had. I mean, it was just totally fun. It was just hard to. It's hard to pick out just one particular match because we had a lot of good ones, and it's been a long time too.
Well, absolutely. So definitely, like I said, a lot of people remember him pretty fondly. But definitely, it seems like he's had kind of a touch on just about everybody.
Yeah, he really did, and he was a good guy. Never had any words with him. Or anything like that. Just did different shows. We did a lot of shows in different places. And I don't know, Dallas was just a good guy to work with and work for. And he was always square shooting, I'll say that for him, with me anyway. I never had a nickel's worth of trouble with him.
Absolutely. Well, that seems to be what it is. Pretty straightforward guy. Definitely. Well, I do want to thank you for talking to me today, Bubba, and thanks for sharing your memories of Dallas with us.
No problem on that end. And there's a lot of guys out there that's going to do the same thing, that knowed him as well as I did, and some of them a lot better. But, I just wish all the luck for the family there and everything, and our prayers go with them.
He defeated me when the title was vacant in January. Did he give me a rematch? No. Nowhere to be found was Bobo Brazil Jr. Now, I'm not up here crying about it. I'm telling the facts. And I went ahead and became the tag team champion. And soon thereafter, Bobo reappears. And I remember on this program, his first comments when he was to meet TJ Powers. All of a sudden, he's talking about Dallas James. I'll give you that rematch. That's a little late now, pal.
And we are joined by Bobo Brazil Jr. When did you meet Dallas?
I met Dallas in the early 80s. And they was running a promotion over there on the south side. And I had just came back from a tour from WCW, and they asked me to come over and do a TV taping with him. And the time him and Austin James was working together. And then we came over and did the TV taping, and I think about it all the time when I see him and stuff. I said, he put TJ Powers to wrestle me. He let Dallas Austin wrestle me. And then I said, why don't I get a chance to wrestle you? He said, you're not chopping me. I do that all the time. Yeah, and I wrestled him in a tag team, but I never wrestled him in a single match. And then when he got with, they joined together with Dan Gosling. I never got a chance to work with him there. I worked with him as a James boy. But he was a character in the ring and out the ring, and he was a very nice guy, That was, he always had time to sit down and talk to you, and laugh and joke about things that can happen in the business and stuff, And I thought he was very successful in the wrestling, which he could sit down and put a card together. And I guarantee you, they could draw a crowd up.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. So then, what was Dallas like in the ring? So you had the opportunity to work with him. So what was he like in the ring?
He knew what he was doing in the ring. I have to give him that, and I wrestle a lot of top professionals. And I have wrestled some guys, that never really been on TV or went any place. But when you got in the ring with Dallas and worked with him, you thought that he was really a WWE superstar. He was just that good, and stuff. And when you were working with him, he always had something funny to say to keep you laughing in the ring. That's what I liked about working with him, and his coordination and enthusiasm in the ring was just. If I was scoring it, I would give him at least 100 in there, because he always knew he never argued with anybody. I seen guys mess up in the ring. He never yelled at them or nothing. He just sat them down and talked to them. He was one of the top independent competitors that I would get in the ring with and wrestle. But like I said, I never wrestled in a single.
Okay. Do you ever? So you said you never wrestled him in a singles, though, right?
No, never wrestled him in a singles.
Well. So, did you ever get to work for Dallas as a promoter as well?
Yes, and I always tell him about the time that he brought the Warlord in. I was their heavyweight champion, and we were at Marion County Fairgrounds. He brought the Warlord in, and I looked at him, I said, you want me to wrestle that big guy? He said, yes, his legs is bigger than my whole body. I said, what? Does anybody know the Warlord? He was a big guy. He was a huge big star. He said, why, you scared to work him? I go, no, I'm not scared to work him. I said, what can I do with him? I grab his leg. You can't see me on the other side. I said, Dallas, why did you bring this guy in? He said, well, you wanted top competition. I went on and wrestled him. He goes, every muscle in my body is stretched. That was a big guy, man. But for his champions and his tag team to work. He really did.
Absolutely.
He made sure that you had to be compatible with these guys that he brought in. And you had to tell me that.
Of course. I'm remembered by a lot of people for a lot of different reasons, but if you had to give us your favorite memories, what would your favorite memory be?
Him standing at the dressing room, I'm like, what am I just rolling? Okay, I owe you one. That was the most memorable thing that I had about him, just to do that. And he would do things to step back. But in all, Dallas was this, and he worked very hard. That was the greatest moment that I had with him, was wrestling the Warlord and looking at the dressing room. He's standing there just rolling. And I'm getting slung on the ring, around in the ring like a dish rag. So I said, let me use my speed to beat this guy. And that's the only way I beat the Warlord. I really used my speed to beat him. It seemed like every muscle of my body was tore. Because I grabbed his leg and picked him up, and he just pushed down. Boom, I go down to the mat. If I grab his arm, put it behind him, and I had to lock my legs around his head to get him down on one knee. And I'm going like, man, this guy is huge. When I look over that, I was like, man, he's beating Clipso down. He's beating him down. I go, you did that, didn't you? I said, I owe you one, Dallas. I really owe you one. But that was the greatest moment. I never forget that moment. Every time we met at WCWO, or where we met at, ICW, I would tell him. Either, CIW, he would be there, I would tell him. I never forget when you put me in the ring with the Warlord. I'll never forget that.
Definitely. I mean, it seems like you have some pretty fond memories of Dallas.
Yes.
He seemed like a pretty great guy. But definitely, hopefully we can all remember him fondly. But do you have any other memories or stories or anything else you want to tell about Dallas? Anything else to kind of tell the people, just to kind of honor him and remember him?
Yeah, I remember when we was sitting at WCWO with him. He came in. I said, hey, how you doing, man? Glad to see you. He said, yeah. He said, Jim, I done got too old to do this. He said, but I wanted one more run. I said, yeah, great. I said, why don't you let me get my partner Andy and you and Austin James, y'all tag against me. He said, I didn't want one more run against you. He said, I want somebody else. I don't want to get in there and get chopped up. So look at your hand. He said, your hands make two of mine almost. I said, they better for chopping up. Hey, but it won't be me. It won't be me. He said, I'm retired. I'm retired. And I think about that when I go to WCW. I said, yeah. I said, Dallas. So I was in Indianapolis today, preaching a funeral, and I thought about it. I came right by the place on the south side where he used to run at that building. And I thought about it. He's retired. He don't want to chop us. Bless his heart. He's gone on in that, up in the sky with a wrestling ring, as everybody said.
The wrestler that I feel has shown the biggest yellow streak this year in the PWI is the man who signing for matches and not showing up. Talking about none other than the superstar, TJ Powers.
The man was injured. The man had an injured wrist. They signed one match, had an injured wrist. Now, he's suspended. And you're going to sit there and say he's got a yellow streak? Well, he can't show up if he's suspended.
And now we are joined by TJ Powers. So how did you meet Dallas?
I first met Dallas doing a show, I think we were at Stoutfield Armory. It's been such a long time ago, and I had wrestled him, and actually I was one of the first guys to ever body slam him. He'd never had anybody body slam him before till he met me, and then after that we were pretty close friends. He always had something crazy to say.
And everyone says that he was a pretty funny guy. We talked to Awesome James, and he was telling us that he was quite the hoot.
Oh yeah, he was a character. He was. I never really ever seen him in a bad mood. I don't believe I ever did. Even when he was running shows and they didn't go right or whatever, he never never was in a bad mood. He just took everything in stride and went on.
No, absolutely. So then, obviously you'd worked with him before in the ring. So as a wrestler or as a talent, how was he in the ring?
He was very good in the ring. For his size, you know, he was probably one of the only guys I knew that, for a tall guy as he was, he actually wrestled as a tall guy. He didn't slouch over or anything, and he didn't have a great big ego. You know, it was just all business, and then when he started running his own promotions, you know, it was even better because he was such he was so smart to the business that when he started becoming a promoter, that he was probably one of the best promoters around at the time, if not the best promoter at the time.
Absolutely. So then as a promoter, did you ever get to work for him and like kind of see him put together a show?
Oh, yeah, I worked for him the whole time that he promoted. I worked for him. I mean, I remember I put this story out on Facebook earlier, but I remember one time when he was at what we call our shoot jobs. It was like 3:00 in the morning, and me and him running around to different buildings and everything because they had copiers and printers and other equipment, and we were using it, and we were doing it all in the dark. And as we're doing it, he's kind of singing the Pink Panther theme song. And I'm just rolling, and we're trying to be quiet, and here he is making all this crazy noise, and I'm going, "Oh, you got to be kidding me, man! We're trying to get this done and not get caught."
Oh, gosh.
But as a promoter, he was great. He was a good friend, and I enjoyed working for him because he always knew how to put a show together and how to tell a story with every match he put on. And I was heavyweight champion for a long time, so.
Absolutely. So, I mean, pretty much everyone we talk to, I mean, they definitely have very fond memories of him, and they say that, I mean, it's pretty resounding how everyone pretty much is saying the same thing, that he was just this straight up very nice guy, never in a bad mood. But everyone seems to remember him pretty fondly, so, let me ask you this. Do you have, for instance, a favorite memory of Dallas? Anything that you think when someone says his name, you just immediately know, oh yeah, this is it.
Well, yeah, when they say his name, I just remember we were sitting around one day, and like I said in my interview, he's the one that gave me my name. And that's the biggest memory I have of him. We were just sitting around trying to come up with a gimmick name. And, you know, he asked me what my initials were, and I told him, and he's trying to put things together. He actually wanted me to be a Funk, and I told him, well, the only way I'm going to do that is you get a hold of Terry, and if Terry says it's all right, we'll do it. But if not, then I'm not going to do it. And he came up with my name that I have now, and he came up with the backstory and the whole premise of Superstar TJ Powers, and that's the best memory I have of him because he basically put me on a path for a career as Superstar TJ Powers.
Wow. So then definitely he had a pretty big impact on your career then, because I mean he kind of helped you, you know, tread the path, make the way type deal.
Yes, he sure did.
Absolutely.
I mean, I used to go and sit with him on his job, and we'd sit and talk about the shows he's got coming up, and he'd, you know, tell me his ideas, and I'd tell him what I thought about them. And I mean, I remember being up at 6:00 in the morning and going doing the news. Back in the day, we were on the news early in the morning, setting the ring up, and then working a little bit, and you know, and doing TV shows that he had produced. And yeah, he always had his hands into something when it comes to the business. He was always, and he was very smart. I mean, as far as the business goes, he was a very smart man. He just knew how to put people together to make it a great show.
No, absolutely. So then all around, I mean, like I said, everyone's, you know, they say, you know, he was an amazing promoter, amazing worker, amazing person. And a lot of people have some pretty funny stories. So, do you have any funny stories about shows or road stories?
Well, I guess it was one show that we were doing, and we were down in Franklin. We were doing the college down there, and we were in the locker room, and I don't know, everybody was just in a real goofy mood, and they were trying to figure out who can we get that we usually don't get. And Dallas was always, you could never get one up on him. So somebody found some heat, and we stuck it in his trunks, and he put them on to wrestle. And they all got activated when he got into the ring. He completed his match. Don't get me wrong, he completed it. But boy, he really wasn't a happy camper when he came back. I just remember that was just funny to me. I mean, it wasn't me getting it done, so. I mean, he didn't get mad because we did it to him. He thought it was funny too. He's mad because he didn't think of it first. I think that was the biggest thing of it.
So wait, let me clarify. You guys put what in his trunks? You said heat?
Yeah, you know, like Bengay.
Oh, it's like icy hot?
Yeah, we put it in his trunks.
Okay. I was gonna say, I was trying to remember what that was. I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Oh well, we all paid for it eventually. He got us all back eventually, one way or another. So.
Oh man, that's hilarious though. Oh gosh,
yeah.
I bet that was a fun match for him though.
Oh yeah, I bet he was just having a ball.
Oh gosh, man.
But no, I didn't travel as much with him as far as up and down the road like Austin did. I worked with him. I worked for him. I mean, when I was on my shoot job, we worked close enough together that we could hang out at lunch, and I'd go over and sit with him, like I said, and we'd talk about the shows coming up and pretty much, and that was pretty much after I'd stopped working, after Bruiser had passed away, I started working for him. And he was probably one of the, as far as here in town, between him and WCWO, he was probably one of the most promoters I worked for the most. If he called me for a show, I was always there.
Absolutely.
Well, because he always had great storylines. I mean, that's what the business is about, is giving the fans a story to follow. So, and he was always great at them.
Definitely. I mean, that's like, again, that's something that's kind of resounded with everyone. They said that he was absolutely just, he had a mind for it. He could put stuff together like no one else.
Oh yeah. And he was a great commentator too. If he wasn't, if he wasn't in the ring, he was on the mic, and his commentating was, up there with everybody. I mean, he could hang with the best of them in commentating. Absolutely. And he always had crazy voices he did and everything else. So it was always kind of interesting what was going to come out of his head. We lost a great talent. We really did. We lost a great person in the business. He was one of a kind. There won't be another one like him.
Absolutely. Well, I do really want to thank you for coming on here and talking to us. I mean, I know a lot of the guys that we talked to today, it's, everyone had a little piece of Dallas. I mean, everyone kind of got to know him a little bit, and I feel like everyone's got a little bit of heart going right now for him, because, he, like you said, there's only one Dallas James.
Yeah, there won't be another one, that's for sure. And, rest his soul. He's up there watching us all now, and he's up there promoting again, so eventually we'll all be with him.
Absolutely. And then he's gonna get you back for the heat in the trunks.
Oh yeah, he probably will. Yeah, I'll pay for that one eventually. Karma's not gonna let me get away with it.
Throughout the time that Dave and I have been working with you, we've both noticed kind of a common feature, and we'd like to present you with this award.
I get an award. What award?
The Woodsy Award.
The Woodsy Award.
The Woodsy Award. We felt all...
Shall I even dare ask?
You know, rather than asking, why don't you just take a look at the monitor and you'll see exactly what this award represents. Up against...
Who?
Big Rig Rollins. The good, I'm sure you're familiar with. Dr. F.
Who?
The Heartbrooks. Are you...
Who?
Now we are joined by Diamond Dan. So when did you first meet Dallas?
Dallas was probably about 88 or 89. We were at a show down south. I'm thinking maybe Spencer. I may be wrong on the location. And it was a show ran by Gary Gold. And he took off with the money box. So Dallas was kind of left there to put the pieces together. I mean, we still had the show, and, he tried to take care of things the best way he could, but he was put in a bad situation by the promoter. So kind of met him from there, and he decided to try and run some things on his own. So kind of been with him one way or the other ever since.
Oh, wow. So then, did you ever get into in-ring competition with Dallas?
Oh yeah, I mean, whether it was Diamond Dan or the other guy, El Diablo, been in the ring with him many times. I mean, with different promotions that he ran and other people ran. We had a show at the fairgrounds, Marion County Fairgrounds, that he got involved in. That I was actually wrestling superstar TJ Power. So I mean, there was a lot of times whether he was managing or he was actually wrestling that I was in the ring with him, and always enjoyed being in the ring with Dallas.
No, absolutely. And then as well, you said you kind of worked under him as a promoter a couple times. And then from some stories we heard from other people, it looks like you actually worked with him as a promoter yourself a few times as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've had Pro Wrestling International, and we had TV in 1995 and 1996. And, I'll be honest, Dallas was the guy that, put everything together. I mean, he was the booker. He had a job that he was able to at that time to spend putting the TV show together. And, I mean, he put countless hours. I mean, I thanked him, but there's no way I could have ever thanked him enough for all the hard work that he did. I mean, he did the commentating, the voiceovers. He put the actual TV show together. I mean, edited and got it ready for TV. So, I mean, a lot of behind-the-scenes things that people aren't always aware about that he did, but, he just had a mind for it. He could tell a story, knew about wrestling. I mean, and him and I had never been historians to where, we could rattle off who won a belt this day or that day or whatever. But, I mean, we both understood the wrestling business and how things should go, and he was that way, but he could tell a story. I mean, you can make storylines up and, have them 6 weeks down the line and, have things lined out and ready to go. So, I mean, he just had that type of mind for pro wrestling. And that's why everybody used him, in their promotion, whether he was the booker or he was putting things together. I mean, if somebody else was the promoter, they always brought Dallas in to kind of help with the storylines and keep things running smooth.
No, absolutely. And I think a lot of people that we've talked to, they always say the same things. They're like, he was definitely in his element when he was promoting or booking or, when he was there doing that stuff.
Yeah.
I think everyone kind of remembers him pretty fondly. So do you have any good memories about Dallas James, or do you have one that kind of sticks out to you?
No, I mean, I have so many, I've been, thinking, and there's just been so much going on since he's passed away. It's just hard to believe. And I mean, we always kind of joke our birthday is actually on the same exact day, month, and year. So we've always had that in common. So, we always joke with each other on our birthdays. So, I mean, it really hit home that, I mean, we're the same age, and, an unfortunate situation happened to him that it makes you realize that, you never know. And I know he was, in that situation, he was on Facebook earlier, had messages going back and forth about different sports I mean, he just was knowledgeable, not just about wrestling, but about sports in general and just life in general. I mean, you could hold a conversation with him, and then be honest, I mean, he did most of the talking, but, he could go on for hours and talk about different things and had so much knowledge, whether it was NASCAR, basketball, or football, sports in general, or wrestling, like I say, and, I just cherish that. I mean, I've been in the wrestling business since '87, and I probably can count the real friends that I have from wrestling on one hand, and he's one of them. I mean, I would have trusted him with anything. And, you can't say that about a lot of people in wrestling, unfortunately, but he was one of those guys you could always trust. He was trustworthy. His word was his word. And, that means more to me than anything else.
No, absolutely. And like I said, I mean, I remember we had previously talked to so many people, and they kind of resonate the same exact things. And I mean, that just, not only, does that make me think that he was just a very consistent, overall awesome dude, but everyone kind of says that he was very, very family oriented.
And he was. I mean, he always, was. I mean, he just recently had gotten remarried, a few years back. Got a very nice gal in Vicky, and kind of gave him peace of mind of, where his life was going. And I know it meant a lot to him, so. That kind of helped things out and, kept him heading in the right direction. So, yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask for a greater guy and a better friend.
No, absolutely. Then as we kind of wind down, we always ask people, do you have any funny or road memories or show stories about Dallas?
Yeah, I'm trying to, think off the top of my head. I mean, there was, so many, we've done so many TV tapings together and been to so many places. He's, got busted open, had to head to the hospital, during the show where, he had a pretty bad cut and, had to take off. We were in Danville and, had to leave because he was just, bleeding all over the place. But then, when he was done, he came right back. But, I don't know. I can't just pick out one story. I wish I could, but, my mind's just been, racing all week since I found out the news and, trying to put together some things for him, for his services tomorrow. So I've just, my mind's been in a million different directions. So I apologize. I can't just come up with, one story. I mean, there's just so many. I mean, we've spent so many times. I mean, he did a toast at my wedding. He's just, he's just been around. We've just so many different promotions and so many different places that we've worked together, and I work for him, and he's worked with me, and just that kind of relationship. And he knew that he could trust me to get things done, and I knew the same thing with him. So we just knew that that was a little different than what you could find with anyone else. No, I won't say that with a lot of people in wrestling when it comes to promoting and putting on shows.
No, absolutely. Definitely, like you said, I mean, he was one of those guys, and I think everyone kind of felt that he was very trustworthy because everyone I've talked to said the same thing. So, well, Dan, I really appreciate you coming on here and just, chatting with us a little bit, reliving his memory and, giving us some good stories to listen to.
Well, I appreciate you having me on here, and I appreciate you guys doing this. I mean, it's well deserved. Like I say, there's people that don't know how much he's put into wrestling, how much he's done, how many people he's helped. He's named different wrestlers, and they still use that name to this day, like Superstar TJ Powers and, and others that he's just kind of helped and guided. And, not everybody knows all those stories about that. And, he deserves, all the kudos that he's getting, hopefully, and and much, much more.
Absolutely. And like we always say, thoughts and prayers do go out to the family. This is going to be a hard time, but they definitely got a 1,000,001 people right behind them. Wish them the best.
Yes, they do.
That's Austin James on the outside. James has put the mask on the inside, gone in and covered the man on the inside. Oblivious. The referee unaware of what has happened. Austin James is taking the mask off. Austin James on the outside, gone inside and pinned. Referee giving him the 3 count, and it looks like the referee is going to award them the title. The winner of the PWI World Tag Team Championship competition, the PWI World Tag Team New Champions, Dallas and Russian with
We didn't go in there and steal the titles. We had to defeat the good old boys, and we defeated them. 1, 2, 3. In the middle of the ring, there was no mask switched outside the ring, and if we're going to look at that match, as I said earlier, I'll bet you any amount of jelly beans you want to bet that mask did not come off outside that ring.
And now we're joined by Austin James. When did you guys meet?
Oh, let's see, that would have been 1993, 92, 93.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, we worked together, and we just hit it off. That's all there was to it. I mean, it was 100%. I mean, it was just like a bond right from the beginning.
Absolutely. And you guys, I mean, for those who don't know, you guys were the James boys. I mean, you and Dallas were brothers in wrestling. So tell us what that was like and what Dallas means to you.
Oh, well, let me tell you. Yeah, we did the James boys, from 90, I can tell you from 93, until I think it was about 98, 97, 98. I mean, every tag match, every match, it was, you know, Dallas and Austin James, the James boys from the Wild Side Ranch just outside of San Antonio, Texas. And, you know, what Dallas means to me, I mean, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be in the business today. But you know, he kind of in the business because I didn't want to do it at first, but you know, we went to a couple shows, and I can remember him wrestling Cousin Bubba, and I believe it was in Kokomo, Indiana, and he was wrestling Cousin Bubba and J.R. Hogg was there, and he introduced me to him, and they said, "Oh my God, you guys are twins," and from that day forward, he never let it rest until I finally said, "Okay, fine." So, but if it wasn't for him, I mean, we were friends. Matter of fact, his wife Vicky, that he's married to, I was able to perform the service and marry them, and that was what a high honor it was for me to be able to join them together in holy matrimony. You know, it was really good.
So absolutely. So I mean, I feel like you probably had a very good connection with Dallas. Like you said, you guys were the James boys. You were brothers. So do you have any like favorite memories of Dallas? Any memories that stick out to you significantly?
I just shared one today. I have so many different ones, and we'd be on here for hours and hours just talking about the things that he would do, or he'd make you laugh or whatever. But I shared it on Facebook today. Some people were talking about some of their memories. Sweet Sapphire from the WWE or WWF at that time. Dusty Rhodes, old manager, Sweet Sapphire. We had brought her in. I had brought her in for a show, and that we were doing at Butler Fieldhouse, and she was just when they called her the gym of jewels of wrestling. they wasn't lying because she was just that type of person. But anyway, we were in my house. Dallas was staying with us at the time, and we were in the living room, and he come up with this wild idea to do promo pictures, and I was like, Dallas, we can't do promo pictures here. And he said, yeah, we can, brother. He said, let me tell you what we're going to and turn them around. They're black on the backside, and we're just going to make a bad drop. And and I thought, dude, you are crazy. So sure enough, we did promo pictures right in the middle of our living room. And so Sapphire got in on it, did some pictures with just me and Sapphire and Sapphire and him. And then for people in the industry understands, he said, little brother, he always called me little brother. He said, little brother, now we got to get some juice. And I was like, do what? And he's like, yeah, we got to get some juice because juice sells pictures. And I can look, I still see it today. Sapphire looked at him and said, you crazy. And he said, only the way that Dallas could do it. He looked at her with those eyes and he said, yep. And she said, well, I ain't doing that. And he looked at her with that puzzled look that he would, if anybody knows Dallas, when he gets that puzzled look, he just look at you like you just lost all your marbles. And she looked over there and said, boy, you just crazy. You flat crazy. And he just kept nodding his head. Yep. But those are the kind of things that we remember. I mean, there was many of them going up and down the road, talking about a wrestling match and how he was going to put it together and how we were going to do things and how things were going to go. But we had such a great time going up and down the road. There was many times that we just have to pull over and I just have to laugh because my sides were hurting so bad. I couldn't drive any longer and just have to pull over into the side of the road and wait until my sides quit hurting.
Oh gosh. Well, and when we talk to people, they always have these like great stories and such. But definitely I feel like you got some very heartfelt stories to have there because you probably spent a lot of time with them, both in and out of the ring.
I did. Matter of fact, just about 3 weeks ago, we were talking, and he said we're getting ready to do our very first RWF show in Indianapolis Saturday at the Marion County Fairgrounds. And he was talking to me about it, and he said, "Little brother, I hope you guys do good." He said, why don't we, at some point in time, why don't we put a James Boys reunion together and do a match? And we talked about it, and I said, man, we'd love to do that. I'd love to, do one more match with, Dallas and Austin, the James Boys, and, but now it's too late.
No. Well.
But, I look at it this way that, his legacy and his, in wrestling, it'll never die. As long as I'm around, I'm going to carry the James name high and proud, and hopefully, I know he's looking down from heaven, and he's hopefully, promoting shows and doing the things, we make him proud, because he was very proud of promoting shows in the early 90s, middle 90s, late 90s. He produced, co-hosted PWI, Pro Wrestling International, with Dan Garza, and he spent hours and hours and hours in the studio producing the television show. That was a 30-minute television show. It would take him 4 and 5 hours produce it because it had to be perfect. It had to be right, and because he didn't want anything to hurt wrestling in any way, shape, or form. He wanted it to be, without any flaws in it.
Absolutely. I mean, from all the stories, I mean, everyone tells me they're always saying, he was, not only was he an amazing wrestler and a talent, but he was also an incredible promoter, and he took a lot of pride in what he did.
Very much so. I mean, I can remember being down at the PWI studios and editing tapes with him or doing voiceovers. And I mean, if we didn't do it right or say the word right or pronounce the word right or have the right pronunciation of a word or anything like that, I mean, he would stop, say, we're doing it again. And we'd do it again. And until we got it right, and then once we had it right, then, he edited it and he would produce that show for that weekly show. And that's the way he was. I mean, he didn't do it if it didn't make sense. It had to make sense to him in his mind, or it was like, no, we're not doing that. If it doesn't make sense to him in his mind, he was not in any way, shape, or form going to do it.
Absolutely. Well, definitely I think that most, if not all, people are definitely going to remember him very fondly because, I mean, everything I've heard is nothing but awesome stuff. He seemed like a very straightforward guy and someone who definitely knew what he was doing.
Well, and I don't want everybody to think that Dallas was just a wrestler because he was more than just a wrestler. He loved Vicky very much, and he loved his daughters, Amanda and Allie. He loved them with a passion that fathers can understand. When his grandson was at Riley Hospital and having some things done, he'd call me and pretty much in tears, and he'd say, "This little fellow doesn't deserve it." I mean, he had a heart of gold. He had a big heart, and when it came to his family, nobody messed with his family. He didn't care who you was or anything. I mean, and it's bad to say, he wouldn't even, he'd shake his fist at God and just say, "Oh God," he's like, this ain't fair for you to do this to this little guy, so that's the kind of person he was. He wasn't just a wrestler. I mean, he was a husband, he was a father, he was a grandfather. He was a friend to everybody. I was just telling somebody today that, I can never remember Dallas holding a grudge against anybody. Somebody did him wrong, he'd say, okay. He'd shake it off, and tomorrow or the next day, he'd be shaking their hand and drinking a Coke with them or eating dinner with them or whatever. That's the type of person he was. He just didn't hold grudges.
Absolutely. Well, that's another thing too, is a lot of people said that he was definitely a family man. He took very good care of everyone he held dear. And a lot of people said that, it was just, he was just one of those guys that honestly is earning his place up there right now. He's already earned it.
That's right. Yeah. It was just surprising and shocking to all of us. I jumped in my car and took off to the hospital as fast as I could get there. And it was already, it was already too late, but, it was shocking. He had just posted 3 hours before it happened that the Browns were so bad that they couldn't beat Avon or Ben Davis in football. Just 3 hours before that, he was posting stuff and talking about sports and everything else. And that's the type of person he was. It was just unexpected out of nowhere.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, you've got a lot of great memories about Dallas. Like you said, you could probably spend hours and hours and hours talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think our greatest rivalries was with Cousin Bubba and J.R. Hogg. And then, I mean, we had some matches that were just crazy. And then we got in with Heavy Construction and sorry about that, had several matches that was just unreal. And there was different ones, Judo Master and I mean, just a lot of guys that we had through our time as a tag team together before Dallas had retired, semi-retired from wrestling. We just had a lot of great matches that we had going up and down the roads, wrestling people, different cities, different states, and our stint in Circle City Wrestling with Mike Samples and Flash Flanagan and all those guys. We had a great time there. Just everybody loved him. Everybody.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't think there's one person I've talked to so far about him that has had anything bad to say about him, and I think that's for good reason. I think that's for very good reason. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, Austin, I really want to thank you for talking to us. I know this might be kind of definitely is a sore subject right now because, I mean, like you said, I mean, you guys were basically brothers.
Right.
But I really
absolutely, 100%.
But I do really want to thank you for talking to us and just kind of sharing your thoughts and stuff. And, my heart, my thoughts, my prayers go out to his family, but I definitely think you're included in there.
Thank you. Well, just remember the family for Thursday where, that's the day that we bury him and everything, and just kind of remember that family for this next few weeks. His daughters, Amanda and Allie and Vicky, they're really taking this really hard, and I mean, because that's his immediate family. We are his secondary family, but I mean, remember them girls and remember his wife and his grandkids. He's truly going to be missed by everybody.